Hey bag ladies and bag dudes, I'm Sarah Lawson from Sew Sweetness, and today I'm going to show you how to make a no-sew tassel. This is a great about 5-minute project, and when you're finished you can attach it to any bag, and because it clips you can transfer it to bags as you change purses. So grab your supplies and let's get started. Okay, before you begin you'll need to print out the template, and you want to make sure that you open this page with Adobe Reader. So you don't want to open it up using a web browser or anything else. It should be opened in Adobe Reader, and you'll notice there's a 1-inch square and a 4-centimeter square, and you want to measure either of these with your ruler and make sure that it's exactly either 1 inch or 4 centimeters. If it's slightly smaller or slightly larger, that means that your pattern piece did not print out correctly. Okay, when you go to cut this out, you're going to cut to the outside of the thick black line. You're not going to cut this tassel area just yet, and this is what it will look like after you've cut the piece out. So you'll want to cut, using that pattern piece, 1 piece of cork fabric, and this is what mine looks like. Okay, so I'm going to flip to the wrong side of the cork, and there's 2 methods for cutting out those tassels. You can either take your scissors, your paper scissors, and cut along each of these lines. So you'll cut all of these lines out, and then you can take a fabric marker or a chalk and then transfer all of the markings to the wrong side of the fabric and go all the way down. The method that I use, however, is I just took my ruler, and if you'll notice on the pattern piece, the lines only extend 3 inches up. So I went ahead and took my ruler and drew a horizontal line that was 3 inches up from the bottom edge. Just like that. And then I took my cutting mat and my rotary cutter, and I just cut all of the lines instead of transferring those markings. So instead of marking, I'm just going to cut every 1/4 of an inch, and my cut will stop at that 3-inch line. And I find it easier to keep the fabric from shifting if I extend my ruler off the top of that edge of the tassel. And you just keep moving that ruler down and cutting every 1/4 of an inch for those tassels. Okay, and I also have a slight variation to show you in case you prefer a smaller tassel. I have 2 tassels that I've prepared here. One I've cut every 1/4 of an inch, and the second one I've cut every 1/8 of an inch. So let me get this cutting mat out of the way, and I'll show you what those 2 different tassels look like. So here's the 2 finished tassels. This one is cutting every 1/4 of an inch, and this one is cutting every 1/8 of an inch. So depending on the look that you prefer, you can do either one. But for this example, I'm going to stick with every 1/4 of an inch. So to complete the tassel, you'll need a swivel clip, and the opening of the swivel clip should be 1 inch. Okay, so I'm going to slide that swivel clip right on there. And I'm going to fold the right hand edge over toward the center so that it looks just like this. And then I'm also going to fold the left hand edge in toward the center, so there will be an overlap. And then I'm going to measure with my ruler because I want to bring this pointed tip of the tassel down to 2 1/4 of an inch. So I'm just going to take my ruler and measure that. Okay. Okay, and I'm going to stick a wonder clip on there to hold it in place. So because this is a no-sew project, all we have to do is to secure this end of the tassel. So for my 2 examples, I used rivets. I have a tabletop rivet press. You might have a handheld rivet press, or you can use Chicago screws, which don't need a press. Those just screw in with a Phillips head screwdriver. Or you can use snaps. Not that you need to open and close this because you'll be attaching it to the bag using the swivel clip, but if you have a snap setter tool. Okay, so I'm going to take my ruler to show you how to install the cap snaps. And so I'm going to make a mark that's a 1/2 inch up from the bottom tip of the tassel and centered. Okay, and I have an awl which just punches a hole through the fabric, and this is just for marking purposes. And I'm just going to punch that all through. And the reason that I did that is because I wanted a mark on this top area and also right over here as well, because we're going to be installing 2 halves of the snap cap. So one will be installed here and the other down here. Okay, so these are the pieces that we'll need. And I'm going to show you how to install these using the snap setter tool, and you'll also need a hammer. Okay, so the snap setter tool comes in 3 parts. And it doesn't matter which half you start with first, the male or the female, because theoretically we're not going to be opening and shutting this. We're just installing the cap so that it looks nice on both sides. Okay, so first the cap is going to go through the front of the tassel, so the portion with this tip over here. And I just went ahead and pushed those prongs through the fabric. Okay, I'm going to lay the cap in the indentation in the tool, and then I'm going to slide the middle portion of the tool directly on top. Okay, next is going to come the male half of the snap, and I'm going to hammer that in place. And you'll want to use a hard surface. I'm using my wool mat, but you'll want to use a tabletop or a firm surface for this part. Okay, and now when it comes to installing this portion, we need to have the female half of the snap on the top. So that means the cap will go through this side of the fabric, and I can't really see the hole very well, so I'm going to go ahead and punch that hole through one more time. Okay, there we go. Okay, so I'm going to slide that cap through the layers of the fabric, and again place it on the tool. Okay, now it's time to reattach that swivel clip and go ahead and snap it in place. And like I said, this is a permanent closure, so you won't need to open and close this, just leave it closed. Okay, and again, you can either use your rivet press, the snap setter tool, or if you have Chicago screws, those will work as well. And then your tassel's all finished. Thanks so much for sewing along with me. I can't wait to see your finished tassel. Be sure to post a photo of your finished project in my Facebook group. And remember, if I can do it, so can you.